First credit on IMDb is playing Joe Rogan's brother, and you throw him through a window. Cue clip.
Shut the fuck up! Shut up, you! They look like a fucking Halloween porch decoration. I run my house with an iron fist. All right? Yeah. You see yourself, and you're like, I don't think I'd cast me either. Your producer, I don't trust. He looks like the devil. Get the fuck out of here. A bus is gonna hit you. Testing 1 2 1 2. Don't blast out the address of my house, please.
We're here at...
Fuck.
We're here at 1 2 3.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bert Kreischer was doing that. People came to his house. It's like, dude, what are you fucking doing? You know?
Wait, he gave his address.
He just he would just be shooting in his house and showing his address, and people just showed up.
That's hilarious.
It's like, bro, what do you think is going to happen?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Travis Makes Friends. Today, I'm making friends with the one and only Bryan Callen. Bryan, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, and it's good to be your friend. I look forward to working on our friendship over the next hour. There's nothing I enjoy more than creating intimacy with another man in a sky blue shirt with that kind of a beard and a barrel chest.
I knew that was the type of person that you are.
You're damn
and that's
right.
why I'm here.
You're damn right. Friendship's interesting, isn't it? It's like, I was thinking about that. I think men connect on two different ways. I think they connect, one in how they, I think how much they laugh with each other. You know, that's a bonding experience, but also probably you connect when you're doing something difficult together.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
war,
Totally.
military shit.
Yeah.
You know, being on the same team, the struggle, the shit work.
Yep.
You know, when you're somewhere you don't want to be, but you're suffering together.
Right.
That shit creates a bond.
Yeah, it was funny you mentioned that. Like 2-3 months ago, I'm basically at this point fully recovered, but a couple friends of mine and I did a 38-mile run.
Jesus Christ.
From midnight to 9 a.m. Took me almost 9 hours.
What?
And that's exactly what happened. But what you're talking about is like that. Why did we do this? You know, who got us into this fuckery to begin with? 38-mile run. Yeah. And I was not very well trained for it. You know, as you can tell, I'm a fairly bulky person. I didn't have any business doing long distance running. My toenail just fell off.
Nobody has any business running 38 miles. Like 26 miles. Life is too short to run 26. Hey, let's tack on another 12. Anybody want to run another 12? Was 26 not enough?
The answer was no. Yeah. And the answer was yes.
The fucking story of the marathon was he dies at the end. He ran 26 miles to tell him the Spartans were coming or whoever, and then he fucking died. You want to do another 12? That's what human beings do.
For some reason. And specifically, that's what dudes do.
I had a guy who swam from Catalina Island to Santa Monica. Now, Catalina Island is out, and just so you know, that's where the big gray whites hang out. That's where the 22-footers hang out. That's where they're all just swimming around, eating sea lions, elephant seals, whatever the fuck they eat out there. And he swam, he started at 11 p.m. So he's like, I'm going to swim at night. And swam from 11 p.m. and got there at 7 a.m. And then he goes, would love to get you in the water with me sometime.
Something about like a pool?
Hey, bro, I'll be in the boat, and it better be a big boat. And I'll be in a warm poncho with donuts and fucking cocoa doing stuff like this. You got it. And if it's at night, I won't be. Yeah. I'll be napping. And I'll wake up at 7 maybe with the sun, groggy. Fucking get out of here. Get out of here with your long swim.
Dude, it's so funny that men tend to be that way. I do want to go back in time and build a little bit of context before we jump into some other things here. You have a fascinating story, and I didn't even know everything about it until I was doing a lot of prep work for this interview. And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, how many countries have you lived in? Yeah. How many places have you been to? So for people who don't know, you were born in the Philippines, and I'm not even going to try to piece the puzzle together from there. Can you take us through that?
Then Calcutta in India. Then we moved to Bombay, which is now Mumbai in India. And then Lebanon, and then Pakistan, then Lebanon again. And the war broke out. And I watched, even as a kid, I saw that country change under war. It was only 6 months. But I saw we were going to buy a house or move into a house, and we weren't able to. I just saw everything change.
Yeah.
And then we were evacuated to Greece, and then
just military family.
Banking.
Correct.
Banking.
Yeah. Okay.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, your dad worked for the CIA." Who knows? But who knows? Hey, listen, you keep waking up free every morning, he'll do what he does. All right. And then we moved from Greece to Saudi Arabia. And my parents stayed in Saudi Arabia, and then they were in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, different parts of the Middle East. And I went to boarding school in Massachusetts because you couldn't go to high school in Saudi Arabia back then. Foreigners couldn't go.
Really?
So school ended by eighth grade. So all of us had to be shipped off.
That's wild.
Yeah, you had a choice between Switzerland or the United States. Or if you came from it was such an international school. So everybody just it was a diaspora. We would just, you just lost. So for me, saying hello and goodbye constantly was chaos.
Yeah. No
and maybe even a little traumatic. But
so you moved, so you went to Massachusetts when you were 14.
Yeah.
Was this the first time you were in the States?
Yes.
Wow.
I'd visited, but only like 2 weeks at a time.
But your parents were from the States, or no?
My parents were from the States.
Okay. So you spoke English. It was still...
Yeah. English is my first language. Yeah. So I didn't know how to do little things. Like I'd never watched TV, like American TV. I didn't know much about sports. I never watched, I didn't have a team.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to address an envelope, little weird shit like that.
Yeah.
And when you're moved around constantly like that, even in the middle of the year, you miss chunks of your education.
Sure.
You really do.
You get these knowledge gaps.
Yeah, you don't take grammar. Like grammar, they forgot. So you don't know. There's just all kinds of shit that happens, man. And I think when you're a kid like me who suffered from a form of ADHD, they didn't diagnose it back then. Yeah. But certainly I was, I think the stress and the lack of consistency didn't help a kid with my brain.
Yeah.
But God bless, thank God, because my compensation was to be funny and all that shit. So, yeah.
Sure. I was going to ask, do you look kind of at that time in your life as like a neutral? Did it give you an advantage? Did it give you a disadvantage?
I think any kind of struggle, if you are taught how to navigate it, if you have support from an adult, you can't just throw a child into chaos without real love and support.
Yeah,
parents,
can't toss them in the pool.
Fathers and mothers,
figures it out.
Yeah, disaster. But I think it was Nietzsche who said, "For my children, I wish nothing but loss and depravity," because it's only the blessed, are so. There is that idea that whatever you go through, you'll be thankful for, and if you're not, you have to orchestrate your life so that you are thankful for it. But I certainly would never change it.
The opposite of victimhood.
Yeah, but my sister was not that way. My sister lived that way, but it didn't affect her the same way it did me. I don't know why.
In what way?
Who knows? My sister is very stable, very kind of like feet on the ground. And I was born with an imagination.
Yeah.
And so who knows what I would have been. Maybe I don't know how much of it is nurture and how much of it is nature.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of the question, right?
Yeah.
It's like the psychology behind that, where your sister basically goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
And seeks the stability that she didn't have. And then you just kind of embraced the chaos and continued in it?
My father she's more like my father. My father could live in all those countries and never speak a word of the language, which is baffling to me. My mother would go there and immerse herself in the culture and learn the language. She speaks Arabic, French, Spanish. These were the things, Italian. She would put herself in those. She spoke Urdu. She really worked at not only speaking the language, but making sure that we as children were surrounded by the people of that country and ate that food. We didn't eat American food.
Yeah.
My mother was like, I'm going to eat what the Pakistanis eat. I'm going to eat what the Indians eat. I'm going to eat what the Filipinos eat. I'm going to eat what the Greeks eat. And my father, to his credit, understood the value of that.
Yeah. Was she working as well?
No. She was just raising us.
Okay. But dad was just kind of this elusive job career.
Always gone.
Yeah.
Always gone, gone. And then, but my father deserves credit because I knew he cared about me more than anything else.
Yeah.
That was always what was instilled. So even though he was gone a lot, and the irony is I'm gone a lot too. Right?
I was going to say,
travel.
Yeah. How does that affect?
I don't know. It's tough because comedians will tell you that it's tough. You miss a lot.
Yeah.
Listen, it's only on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I get to make people laugh. So
yeah. Well, it's also, Monday at 10 a.m. and you're home with your family. right?
Exactly.
Like
that's awesome.
There's a lot of, I don't know, that's a conversation I've had a lot recently with my wife. You know, we have 2 kids. I'm 30. She's about to be 31, and we're traveling a lot constantly for work and stuff. And, you know, it hits you harder when your kids are like, you know, when your kids get old enough to start asking you, you know, like, hey, why are you leaving, or where are you going? You know, it's like,
yeah, man.
But we try to at least explain to them, you know, like, I'm doing this so that we can have this version of life that most people don't ever get to experience. And because I don't like to settle. And I think that there's a lot of value in that as well.
There's a huge amount of value in that because you're setting an example for your children of excellence. And I think you have to live your life. I think when you use your children as an excuse not to live your life, I think that's a huge fuck you.
Totally.
I think that's
a disservice.
I don't agree
as a
with
parent.
that. Yeah. So then I suppose you're there. But, you know, again, if your children understand that you love them and that you're setting an example, I think there's a great deal of value in that. I don't know. Every child is different and every situation is different. But.
Sure. As long as you get the main things across of like, I love you, care for you, and I do these things.
Well, truth, you know, I mean, you want to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I realized that I hated acting. I hate it. I don't like the process. I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked so hard at being good at it for years. And then when I finally realized I don't like this, I'm just going to do stand-up. That's where I really feel alive. That's the best feeling in the world, when I get to write my own stuff and wrestle with being original and then put it up on stage.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
I don't miss acting even a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. How long did it take you to realize that?
50 fucking years, man.
Really?
I didn't accept that until I was 53. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's fucking amazing how you get older and you're like, it takes me, the frustrating thing about life is, at least for me, I'm such a slow learner. I've been wrong more than I've been right by far.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's humbling.
I was listening to an interview you did, I think it was recent, and you were mentioning how Joe Rogan called you or something and said he was going to quit acting. And at the time, it kind of blew your mind.
Yeah, Joe was always ahead of the curve that way. That motherfucker he was always telling me to just stop. For as long as I can remember, he's like, fucking stop acting and fucking do stand-up, dude.
But I mean, back then though, like having a sitcom and like there was no
everything.
YouTube, there's no podcast.
I know, but he saw in me that I wasn't that guy. He saw that I was a comic.
Yeah.
You know, I just never fucking, you know, I should have, if I had listened to Joe, like this is a weird thing to say. I've never really said it, but if I had listened to him, like really listened to what he said about just focusing on stand up and being my own person. Joe had to be his own person. Joe grew up without a dad. So he had to be his own person. The world, without going into detail, at 9 years old for Joe, the world became a very dangerous place. And he realized that the only person he could rely on was himself. I never had that realization. I never had that. I always had a whole infrastructure of family I could rely on. That's not a service, because it allows you to bullshit yourself for a long time.
Kind of faith in the system instead of faith in yourself.
Yeah, it allows you to kind of like, it allows you to not grow up all the way. And I don't think you grow up. You grow up, you know, there's that you grow up completely when you realize there's that Instagram thing where the woman, I don't know who she was like, nobody's coming. No one's coming. Nobody's coming. This is you, man. You stand on your own 2 feet. And the people that I've seen that really do great things realize that very, very early on. And it came from some kind of trauma, which goes back to what I'm saying about if you understand how to navigate loss or navigate, you know, chaos, trauma, that way lies the gold.
Sure.
I don't think comfort necessarily makes for a dynamic human being.
Yeah, or strong people with real values.
Yeah, this is nothing new that we're saying, but you know, but I understand it deeply.
How do you think of that when it comes to parenting? Because this is like one of the biggest dichotomies for me as a dad. Because as a dad, you want to give your kids everything, but in giving them everything, you're taking away a lot of things from them. I think. How do you
life is a kick in the nuts.
Like it's not a good thing to be a shitty dad so that they have trauma to work through that makes them stronger, right? I mean,
but Newt Gingrich was on Jordan Peterson's podcast and he said something to the effect of, I come from a generation, the last two generations are of parents who believe that their kids have to like them. My mother did not raise us that way. And he used a couple examples of people. And it's true. I'm not your fucking friend. Yeah. I'm your parent. And so I'm going to make you do shit that sucks. And my buddy does this. He says to his kids, and his 3 kids are crushing it. And he goes, they're like, no, and he's like, I love you enough to be harder on you than the things you're going to face. So do it. And so, in my opinion, again, it goes back to, I'm here. I love you. I'm your rock. I'll never go anywhere. But you're gonna do the things I tell you to do.
Yeah.
You're gonna finish things you started. You're gonna get good at something.
Yeah.
I say that to my son. My daughter, I don't need any motivation for that gal. She's 14 and she's just like, I want to be a scientist, an engineer. I want to be a singer. I want to be a tennis player. I want to be 50,000. And she's doing them all. And it's like, gee, and she talks about college. Yeah. Now I won't get into a college. I'm like, you're 14. She's not allowed to talk about college. I lose my mind. I go, I don't want to hear about college. Okay. How about having a little fun, a little joy in your life?
You're barely not a kid anymore.
Dude, she's type A, man. Type A. Competitive, like if it's not a competition, she don't want to do it. She gets it from her mother, she gets it from my dad. It's all good. So I don't have to worry about that girl at all. She's a monster, in a good way. My son is exactly like me. The escape artist. Houdini. Fucking Houdini. It's like, so I gotta crack the whip.
Yeah.
I gotta crack the whip. And he'll come in my wrists. I fell on my wrist. So right now, my stomach is a little queasy. I'm like, that's cool. Your feelings don't matter here, okay? This is not a democracy. This is a monarchy. Yeah. I'm the king, and you're giving me my fucking half hour of boxing or working out, whatever we're going to do. But you're going to get good at something.
Yeah.
Because I can see that you have the same brain that I do, which is you want to take path of least resistance. That's my problem.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm somewhat successful is because of my ego. I'm not impressed with myself. I'll tell you that much. So you look at what motivates you, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's super interesting that you would, because from a third party objective standpoint, it would seem like you are the person that kind of strives for excellence all the time and pushes yourself. But you're saying,
I just want to be good at it. I couldn't bear not being good.
Yeah,
it's an alpha mentality.
Sure.
I hate that alpha beta shit, but I would always come into, like, if it was a wrestling room or it was whatever it was, I was like, well, I can't be JV. I got to be varsity, right? Or I got to be the guy they're talking about. No matter what the fuck happens, I got to figure out a way
to be in the conversation.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Even with boxing, when I started boxing, like, I was too old and I was getting hit too much. I was getting dizzy. But Wayne McCulloch was like, you're such a fighter. Because in my mind, I'd get hit and I would fucking obsess. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to punch that dude. I'm going to knock that fucking guy. And it's an outrageous thing to say when you're 50, whatever I was, 50 years old, and also not a boxer and also not a tough guy. But I know that if I had started when I was really young, I would have CTE now, because
totally, yeah.
Anything you do, I would have had to figure out my way, and I wouldn't have been as fast or strong. So I would have had to, I don't know, who knows, and I probably would have failed.
Yeah,
but I think that's a personality trait.
Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which ones?
I was mostly a wrestler.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, which is a nightmare.
Didn't pursue it much.
No, I went to a D1 school to wrestle. I went to American University. And then I think I went to Dan Gable's wrestling camp in Iowa. And if anybody knows about that, it's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. They train you quote unquote like a champion. And I remember I went to college and I saw one of the kids walking, and he was like he's probably 162 pound, whatever, but just thick as shit. Probably walked around at 190.
Yeah. And
I could see his ears, and he was like a senior, and he was walking like this. His body looked like and I was just like, and I thought to myself, I could see the suffering on his body.
Yeah.
And I knew what D1
at
wrestling,
age 20.
I knew what the fuck it was going to be. I knew I was going to be waking up at 5:30 in the morning, running sprints for an hour.
Right.
I knew I'd be wrestling twice a day. Yeah. And I knew I'd be sucking weight. And I knew what that pain was. And I looked at him and I was like, at the end of this, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to shoot a double leg really well and do those things. Now, what I should have said to myself was, if I can get through 4 years of a D1 program, and American wasn't a big D1 program, if I can get through 4 years of any program, wrestling program in college, then it would have been amazing. It would have been in every way. All the benefits that come from that are intangible. You can't explain it. So my regret, I have one regret, and that's not wrestling in college. But what I did instead was I got into kickboxing and taekwondo.
Gotcha.
Because I saw these guys punching each other and kicking each other, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that.
Where was the aspiration for like comedy and acting and all that stuff?
The only thing I was good at. I wasn't good at like martial arts.
So you did it immediately, like
I was
in
never going
college,
to be a great
out of
athlete. I wasn't going to be a good wrestler. If I'd gone to American, no matter what I did, I bet you I would have been too weak.
Well, what were you studying at American?
I was a history major.
Okay.
I know, but I mean, again, I knew early on I was never going to be a great athlete. I was not strong enough. I don't have the mentality.
Yeah.
I maybe had the mentality to wrestle, and that competitive spirit. But there were guys that were just always going to. There was no fucking way I was going to be
on a certain level in athletics. Raw talent combined with hard work beats exclusively hard work.
Well, I've talked to Ben Askren, who doesn't believe in talent, which is he was obsessed with wrestling and. But I wasn't that way, and I didn't have Ben Askren's mind, and I certainly was never gonna. So I just maybe I didn't love it enough. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was. I think I'm inherently moderate at the same time physically. Sure. I'm not gonna train 8 hours a day and and then have 2 fake hips and 2 fake knees like Dan Gable.
Right, exactly. That's part of the journey, though, right? Is doing stuff, learning, and figuring out that maybe that's not for me, and then pivoting and moving a different direction.
I always say that like sports are important for at least men because you learn how tough you're not.
Yeah, right.
That's fucking huge, dude.
Yeah, or what you're willing to do to be. That's the thing for me is anything worth having is going to be a struggle to get. Yeah, anything in life.
You'll never hear me say, "Man, I would have been a Navy SEAL." Yeah. I know I couldn't make it.
First of all, ringing the bell.
I'd get too cold. I get
it's hypothermia. Lack of sleep for me, man.
All of it.
The lack of sleep thing. I'd have been like, I'm out. I got to take a nap.
I mean, if you ever been around guys like Tim Kennedy or Mike Glover, you're just like they're fucking smart as shit, and they just have a different engine.
Right.
It's like you're not cold. I was this guy Mike Ritland the other day, Rittler, I think, and he trains police dogs. Okay. And I do this series called Best Of, and I had this dog, kind of launch on my arm. But he was a Navy SEAL. I'm in 4 layers in Dallas because it was 37 degrees. He's in a fucking t-shirt rolled up and just talking to me for an hour and a half. I go, "Are you not cold?" He goes, "What?" I go, "You're not cold." And he goes, "I don't know. I didn't notice it." I go, "Well, that's why I'm a pussy. That's why you were a Navy SEAL and I'm an actor in 4 layers. So I'll never be happy because I'm ultimately not tough."
So when you were in college, was the goal acting at that point?
I think I wanted so badly to be liked. I think that's a huge part of, again, what drove me was not admirable. I think I just wanted to be loved. And I think I saw a tennis player and all these people were all over him. I think it was Masvidal or someone. And I just was like, I want to be admired like that. I want to be different. I want to be special. I want to be the kind of person they talk about, not who's talk. I didn't want to be a spectator. I wanted to be the person out there. And I got to taste that from wrestling. Yeah. You're alone out there on that mat. And I had done things as a kid. I was very driven. I had accomplished certain things, like in judo, little things like that I didn't expect to accomplish. So I got a taste of, I will say that somehow I could run for a long distance. I won a race, I remember, when I was 12 or 11. And I beat the adults, or 12. I don't know what I was, but 13, maybe 14. But I ran and I couldn't understand. And I realized I finished second. And I was like, "Oh, I did? I had no idea." Yeah. Or when I was in 8th grade and I won, this is fucking hilarious to even talk about this, but I won most athletic kid in school when I was in 8th grade. I was so shocked. I didn't know she said Bryan Callen. And I didn't move. And I said to my mother, I go, "I won most athletic." And my mother goes, "Well, you're very coordinated." Hey, okay, I guess. It was the fucking craziest thing. And I think it was 8th grade. I don't fucking remember. Maybe it was 6th grade. Who cares? But the point is, I remember those feelings of being singled out.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be that over this. But then I realized I'm not good at anything. I don't know. What am I going to be? What am I good at singling? I don't know anything, but I was so moved by movies. And I go, I want to do that. And then I saw Robert De Niro in Raging Bull.
Yeah.
And I listened to Springsteen songs for the first time. And I go, whatever's going on inside me when I listen to those songs, that poetry.
Yeah.
And whatever's going on inside me when I watch Robert De Niro, I didn't know who he was, transform his body.
Yeah.
I was so blown away and so moved by the story, that I didn't know what to do with myself. I just needed to somehow either be a part of it, create it. The mystery of, is that for me? Could I do that? And there's just like the idea that I was going to be a stand-up comic. I mean, what? Hey, Bryan, why don't you try being a senator? It's an outrage.
It's just as outlandish.
Yeah. So anytime you have this dream, a lot of times it's like, I was talking to Adam Duritz, who's the lead singer of Counting Crows.
Yeah.
And he said, when I was younger, I was just so desperate to be heard. And I was like, that's it. That's right. That's right. So maybe I was desperate to see if I could distinguish myself. I was desperate. I was desperate to see if I could be as unique as I felt, or I just didn't want to be ordinary.
Yeah. Why? That's the question I've been asking a lot lately, because
great question.
People can grow up in the same exact situation, to the same parents, in the same environment, and end up on two totally different paths. And I've tried to ask myself that question because I feel very similar in terms of I can't explain. I don't know why. It just kind of, there's something in me that just makes me want more things. You're
getting into religion here a little bit or philosophy, let's say, because you see, the why when you're young is status, power, sex, attention, dominance, whatever it is, right? You just want to be the person with the resources.
Yeah.
And you want to be the person who is got the adulation.
Yeah. The guy.
The guy.
Yeah.
I think life humbles you. And I think what happens is you realize that no matter who you are, you're going to lose all that. And that's a fool's errand. You're excused for the trance and the spell it casts on you as a young person. But I think that as you get to be my age, you start to realize that that's not the goal. The goal is to do these things and to try to be original in your expression for its own sake. Because you're never more yourself than when at play. I'm quoting Schiller right now. Because when he said a man is never more himself than when at play, what he was talking about is when you're doing that, not hookers in an 8-ball. But when you're doing that which you would do for its own sake, something you would do for free.
Sure.
Right. And so then you start to, the goal is to let go of yourself in a way to prepare for your own inevitable demise and ultimate extinction, your death. Mm-hmm. I want to, as Socrates said, I want to treat my own body and my own appetites with a quiet contempt. I don't want to be attached to any sensation. And maybe that's something, maybe I'm getting closer to the idea of what God is, or certainly being closer to that which I cannot measure and that which is much larger than myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have to define it. In fact, in many religions, it would be heretical to try to define it, right? It's why the Jews and the Muslims don't have, saints and iconography and things in their temples and in their mosques, because that would be considered the worship of false gods, right? And I think maybe the greatest lesson in at least a Judeo-Christian ethic is don't worship false gods. The Israelites were constantly being punished for worshiping false gods, including the fact they were like, we need a leader. And God was like, I gave you the 10 commandments. I'm your leader. Yeah. Really? Okay, that's what you guys want to do? Fuck off. And he gave them one leader after another. It never worked.
Yeah.
But there are lessons in that. The book of Kings, the book of Judges, and stuff like that. That's literally the whole Jewish Bible, or at least the Old Testament, I should say.
Sure.
It's like just that lesson of you guys keep looking for the answers over here where man lives, as opposed to
the things that you can consciously conceive.
Yeah, it's an interesting it's a philosophy or a faith or a system of belief that I'm very intrigued by as I get older, because you can read philosophy like every time I talk to like Silicon Valley guy, just there are a lot of people I know who are into longevity. A lot of guys my age who are into longevity. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Biohacking.
They want to they want to biohack so they can live fucking till they're 150. So they can look at themselves in the mirror when their skin is, when they look like a fucking Halloween porch decoration. And they want to go, I need another 50 years. Okay. If I could look 25 till I was 150, I guess I'd become a master pianist and guitarist. I don't know what the fuck. I understand the impulse to live forever. I want to too.
Yeah.
But that sort of self, that love of oneself is a form of idolatry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really.
Well, it tends to be with people who are the least religious.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that you're gonna get religious about something else.
Sure.
And so every time I talk to the Silicon Valley people, if you talk to them about meditation or even prayer, whatever that is.
Yeah.
The first question they ask is, does that boost your productivity? What's that on a percentage scale? What would you
where's
say?
the spreadsheet?
Shut the fuck up. Shut up, you. I don't care about you. Shouldn't care about you. I eat a certain way. I intermittent fast. I don't give a fuck. I want to die. Those are the people I admire. Martin Luther King and Gandhi and Malcolm X and Jesus Christ and all the people admire, and the Buddha. They weren't eating. They weren't like, I have abs actually, because what I'm doing now is I'm intermittent fasting. I'm taking this drug that tends to lengthen my telomeres. I can't stand it. Get the fuck out of here. A bus is going to hit you. Yeah. You're going to fucking die.
That is the crazy part.
And you might beat me by a year, but I doubt it, by the way, you fucking hack. You biohacker.
No, that is the crazy thing. Not to get too somber or serious, but one of my best friends when growing up, his mom was in mid-50s last week, 2 weeks ago, got in a car accident and didn't make it.
Happens all the time.
It was just like it was one of those, because you try to stay healthy, go to the gym, work out.
And then you get pancreatic cancer, but you never had a drink or a cigarette in your life. That's what life is.
Yeah. Friend I grew up with, she was 27, 28, got stage 4 stomach cancer. She diagnosed, and she's a nurse, super healthy.
That's right.
A nurse, and passed away like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's called life.
In her 20s.
And people should study how that happens, and they should study how to stop that, and they should use their own bodies against big. I respect all of it.
Sure.
Just please understand, nobody gets out of this thing alive.
At the end of the day, right.
And
the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think that's probably, it's nothing wrong with trying to be as healthy as you can and optimizing, but it can't be the only thing.
So on another note, I saw something you said about 2 questions that you've really tried to answer in your life, or 2 questions that you think matter, which is, what is courage and what is being a man? Have you found answers to those questions, and how do you think about them?
I did a podcast again with this guy, Mike Ritland. I'm so bad. Let me look at this. He's a great guy, and he's got a, it's called Trico. He's got a dog company, and it's in Dallas. I just want to see what it is. And so I get his name right. But he trains Malinois, Mike Rittler. And he trains Malinois. And these dogs are, a 67-pound dog will rip you to shreds. It will rip. I don't give a shit who you are. This thing was biting through the fucking bite suit. And I was like, oh my God. The pressure. And I was like, well, they would shut your arm off. I don't care who you are. That dog is going to take you to the ground and you're going to be screaming and you're done. And the lack of fear in that dog's face, but it took him 3 years to get that dog to that point. So even a dog that's been bred for that, you can break that dog very quickly and very easily if you're not careful. And building that dog's confidence is a huge part of the technique when it comes to bite work. And I said, you know, he goes, I've learned more about human nature working with dogs than anything else. And this is a guy who was a Navy SEAL who was saying that I think some of it's a genetic anomaly, which is all of us don't have the same sense of self-preservation a lot of other people do. So maybe that's what it is, right? You're kind of born with a certain sort of lack of fear. So there is, courage is inherent in some ways. Some people just don't have the imagination for what could go wrong. But if you hear someone like Hickson Gracie will tell you that fear and intelligence are very closely related. And people who have no fear tend to be, there's the bravado of a fool. So I don't know that I believe in courage, so to speak. I mean, you're brave when you have been taught how to navigate the situation. And I think there is something called courage to be the best you can be. Again, it goes back to, I do think courage exists. And courage is I would define courage as being terrified, but assuming the position anyway.
Yeah.
And so that would be the idea that I can, but that would be something like sacrifice or something like self-control, which is how the Greeks defined character. The reason we admire people that do that, it's not that they aren't terrified. When Nelson Mandela was sentenced to death, you could see him swallow. He was terrified. He didn't show it, but he was fucking terrified. He was going to die. Nobody is brave. When you lock that cage in the UFC, I've talked to too many badass fighters. They're always afraid.
Yeah.
They're always terrified of that. You know, it's like, I got to fight now? Holy shit. This is the most uncomfortable shit. GSP, the stories about him going, I don't want to go out there. This is fucking nuts. Yeah. He's a brilliant man who realized this is the dumbest shit on the planet. But he was so good. And, you know, and my buddy Andy Stump talking about being a SEAL Team 6 guy and being the squirrel suit guy, you know, he used to hold the world record for the squirrel suit. And he's like, I'm just risk averse. I was just very careful. Now I think he's full of shit. He's also crazy, but you know, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So courage is probably not the Spartan, you know, Greek version of charging the hill. That exists, but that might just be the idea that you're able to not indulge in. You're standing porter at the door of your mind and not allowing any of the bad. But that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
Again, learning what not to think about. Mastering the ability to allow only the positive things and the positive outcomes, potential positive outcomes into your mind and keeping the other things out. That's a huge part of it. And being a man, well, you know, I know what traditional masculinity is. Stoic, provider, protector. And I agree with all that because that's inherent in us. It's not my fault. It's how I evolved. My aggression, I need it. My anger, I need it. My fear, I need it. You know, my ability to prepare for a worst case scenario, I fucking need it because the world is a war. It's not a community. It's not how I think. Okay. And so there is that inside of all of us as men, but you know, a man is not necessarily, you don't measure strength with one metric. Who can lift the most weights? And, you know, the NFL, the stock market. You measure strength in many different metrics. How creative are you? There are people that can't do one push-up, but they can create beauty for its own sake, and it's what we all point to. I don't know that Steve Jobs had abs. I don't know what Steve Jobs' Fran time was in CrossFit. Okay. And I don't think anybody gives a fuck, but he was incredibly creative.
Yeah.
You know, Isaac Mizrahi is gay as it gets. I don't want to live in a world without Isaac Mizrahi. I don't want to live in a world like Chechnya where they kill gay people because they're so fucking, because that fucking guy is so dumb.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand what people who are different provide a culture.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that people who are creative, who might love differently or think differently, have other strengths that make your culture strong, make your culture creative.
Yeah.
That's the irony of measuring strength when you measure strength with one metric, which is the men who have the biggest club or the biggest guns. You get Somalia, you get Afghanistan, the chaos of Somalia. I'm not talking about their cultures. I'm not talking about their people.
Sure.
I'm talking about the chaos that these countries became. When men rule everything with a gun, fuck off. It makes you weak. Yeah. That's the irony.
Which is another thing that makes America so awesome.
That's right.
Comparatively.
It's also why there's nothing left of Sparta but some shards of clay, some pottery.
Interesting.
And Athens has left a legacy of incredible literature and philosophy and everything. Yeah.
So I find there are a few common denominators with, we've done over 800 episodes of the show, interviewed hundreds of really, really successful and smart people. And one of the things I find is kind of a common denominator between all of those people is the ability to overcome rejection. And we're kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, but I've did door-to-door sales for a multitude of years and I'm very familiar with rejection myself. And I would say that of all things, that's probably the most direct feedback in terms of rejection. And if there were one thing that I would say is even a step further than doing just straight up 100% commission door-to-door sales, it would be acting and stand-up comedy. How do you view rejection, and is there a structure or a system through which you help yourself overcome those things and keep moving on to the next thing?
It's just built into the model.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just built into the model. It's like saying, I want to train in MMA and I got knocked out. I hurt my nose, I'm sore. My back is sore. Yeah. I didn't make $100 million this year, and I'm going to work really hard at my jiu-jitsu. That's right, motherfucker. You're going to be poor with a roommate in your 30s. But that's all built into the model. You want to be an actor? Cool. You want to be a stand-up? I'll see you in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you're still not going to make it. So it's just part of the thing. You just follow it's not a rational choice.
Yeah.
The rejection has nothing to do with it. I got 7 yeses in 30 years. 7 significant yeses. And the rest were no's. I'm not joking. But
for roles you're talking about?
Yeah. 7.
Yeah.
7 things worked out.
Out of how many shots, you think? How many at-bats?
In 30 years.
Yeah.
In 30 years.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah.
It's my baby. I apologize. Silence, child. I don't stand for that. I run my house with an iron fist. All right? Yeah. I'm going to have some baby because he's 10 months Yeah. My son will be a king. He will be separated from his mother. You have 1 more month. Learn how to eat gruel from a bowl, sleep on a cold marble slab, and understand that the only true friend, the only true constant he can rely on is pain and solitude. My son. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
In Manhattan Beach.
Yes. With lots of cuddles.
So you've also done these kind of guest roles on 30 shows.
Yeah, everything.
Plus.
I said yes to everything.
I'm
a whore.
What were some of them that you think you would have made a great regular on, or that you wish you could have?
Everything. You're asking me. I think I should have been chosen for everything. Yeah, of course. You have to think that as an actor. It's like, not me.
Yeah.
The fuck. You don't want medium.
Perfect.
You don't want medium and wrinkled. What the fuck? That's the other thing that's humbling. Is you see yourself and you're like, I don't think I'd cast me either, unless I was casting super regular guy. Super average dude, middle of the road guy.
Yeah.
5'11", 170, but short femur bone, so he looks shorter.
And whenever that's on the casting call, there's a lot of those people out there.
Yeah, I would choose you over me. You're a much better looking guy. I'd be like, get the guy with the fucking hair and he's bigger. And why would you get that guy over there? It's like I had this joke in my stand-up, but it was true. If I picture Pocket in a parade, if I picture Pocket in a parade, you wouldn't know how to describe me to the cops. They wouldn't have anything going. He was medium, brown hair, white.
A sketch artist would have a tall order trying to.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, every guy?
Yeah.
Let's start with an oval face and fucking 2 dots for eyes.
Oh, man. Are there any that stand out to you? By the way, my
special man tears just dropped. Yeah. YouTube, it's free.
Oh man, is there one that comes to mind that was like really fun or?
Yeah, they were all fun, but again, the reason I'm not crazy about acting was only because it was more the people I get to work with. It's the bonding experience.
Yeah.
I just did a movie, my buddy Kevin Mack's movie, McNamara's movie. I think it's gonna be great. With Amanda Clayton and Mark O'Brien, really great actors. And but I get to work with my buddy Eric Griffin and Jimmy Schubert.
Oh, cool.
Hilarious motherfuckers, hilarious comics, smart as shit. That is so fun.
Yeah.
Just to be on set, and then Kevin is my boy too. So we're just all hanging out, and it's a beautiful thing. So it's the acting gets in the way. Even I've been, even like people like Paul Giamatti, like we were doing Hangover 2 and he had won or nominated for an Emmy. I think he won it, and he was just like, this is so much more fun. I'm walking around set with everybody's like in character. It's like, the acting gets in the way. I think he said that. I'm quoting him. Maybe he didn't. Sorry, Paul. But, I remember, I never forgot that. I was like, there's this great actor who's, it is what it is.
If you meet somebody out on the street and they're like, I know you from something, what are the first things that you tell them that they might know you from?
The Hangover.
Yeah.
The Joe Rogan podcast. It's fucking amazing.
That is pretty incredible that people would know you from Joe Rogan.
That's how big his podcast is.
Right.
You never know these things. But How I Met Your Mother, everything.
How I Met Your Mother, yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Goldbergs, you're the coach,
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. First credit on IMDb that we looked at today is playing Joe Rogan's brother on NewsRadio, and you throw him through a window.
Yeah.
Cue clip.
I'm gonna fix that.
How did that come about? Was this like pre-friendship, post?
Yeah, no, he had done MADtv, and
gotcha.
We just got along, man. Because the other actors didn't really know what to do with this really muscular guy who was very kind of standoffish. He was just a little bit like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
But he was a comic, and he was just, he had his armor up, and I just saw it right away, and I just liked him because he was into martial arts. I was too. We were into this new thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I was going to say that was before anybody
we were like,
talked
who the
about
fuck
it.
is Hoist Gracie? We were just obsessed with it, and he was a Taekwondo guy, me too, and
yeah.
But and all that stuff. So we were young guys,
yeah,
and we looked a little bit alike, and I don't know, we just hit it off, man.
With like a role like that, is that something the producer asked, or was Joe
Rogan
just like
bullied me in? He was like, he can play my brother. He's the best. Fuck it. I was in New York, and he goes, come to LA. You're coming. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
And that was legitimately your first credit on IMDb. Like that was your first thing that you did.
No, I'd done a soap opera, and I'd done MADtv
and MADtv. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I had done that for 2 years.
Are you in stand up at that point?
I was not. I started doing stand-up before MADtv.
Okay.
And then when I got MADtv, when I would come home to New York, I would do some stand-up.
Okay.
But for the most part, I stopped doing stand-up for 5 years.
But back then, wasn't the overall kind of idea like you do stand-up so that you can get on TV?
Yes, and make millions of dollars and have a cushy life.
Yeah.
I swear
and
to
get
God,
royalties from your sitcom.
I swear to God, most of my career was I just wanted to date beautiful women and eat really well. Literally.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be a famous actor so I can marry a 10.
Yeah.
And eat eat at the best restaurants and drink the best wine.
Yeah.
That's how superficial I was. Everything was a grind. I just wanted that beautiful house. I wanted to be successful. And success was a cool car, your beautiful wife, or a beautiful girlfriend, and eating well.
Yep.
I mean, but if you strip it down, it's embarrassing to say that, but I mean, I always had the imagination of wanting to be a great artist. So I'm being a little bit dramatic.
Sure,
Obviously, that's not true. I wanted to be Robert De Niro.
Well, there's lots of ways to eat well, and
I wanted to be. I take all of that back. I take it all back.
Actually, never mind.
This is where I say shit, and I'm like, that's not true. The truth is, I wanted to be a great artist. The truth is, I wanted to be a great actor. I wanted to be Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. I wanted to be Christopher Walken in King of New York and The Deer Hunter. Those movies moved me so much I couldn't take it. I couldn't even watch them. They were so So I just wanted to touch that greatness. That's all I cared about. But I think what happened was I realized I didn't even know how to get into that. I also didn't know how to do that. I didn't have that schooling. I'd gone to theater school in New York, and I was in class in LA, but I just didn't. I don't know, man. I just started to realize that I was never going to be that brooding, deep actor. And I was a jackass. I was a silly goose, and that's when I felt the most alive.
Sure.
And I had to let go of that. I had to let go of that. I had to let go of who I was trying to be. And I was pretending to be somebody I wasn't. I also took on a persona because, for me, I didn't come from anywhere. That's a big thing. A huge thing for me was I didn't come from anywhere. I came from everywhere.
Right.
I was moved all the time. So I didn't have any roots, stories, people. I didn't come from a place. And when I would try to write, I would always write. I was always writing. I didn't have any place. I didn't know where to place it. So it was all I was fabricating everything. And so my screens plays, nothing worked.
Trying to be who you thought you had to be that person rather than being the expression of who you thought
but
you
my
were.
mother was Brooklyn. For the Italian side was all Brooklyn. And they were Italian. So that's what I didn't know the Irish side in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I latched onto this idea of being a New Yorker from New York, an Italian guy from New York. I latched onto it. And then I made a lot of great friends in New York. So they became my base. But I still wasn't.
You've done a lot of work with Todd Phillips. How did that relationship come about?
He's a genius, and he just loved this character I did one time for him when I was out to dinner with him and Breckin Meyer. Breckin Meyer's an actor, and he introduced me to him. And I would do this Israeli porn star on stage. I would make you nice all the way. Camera, get my balls, And he fucking loved that so much. And he just put me in old school.
He saw you do it on stage?
Yeah,
or?
he put me in old school as that guy. And then he just loved me. And then The Hangover came along, and he wanted me to play. He put me in Bad Santa, which people don't know, but Todd Phillips rewrote from page one Bad Santa and directed it.
Really?
Yeah, his name's not on it, but he did that.
Wow.
Yes, and he's a fucking genius. And then Hangover came along, this little movie, because nobody wanted to do Old School 2. They all said no to him. And he's like, really? You fucking guys are going to say no to me? Good. This is called Revenge. And he wrote The Hangover, I think with Scott Armstrong and Jeremy. Can't remember his last name, but fucking amazing, right? And they killed it.
Yeah.
And the character initially was supposed to be from New York, a guy like Eddie who's from Long Island, who had this wedding chapel, and at the read I said, I think he should be from Armenia or Lebanon or something like that. I'm going to do it like this. Yeah. I can get you anything. So he just lets me improvise. Yeah. So anyway, that's
and then you can see your face and hands in the Joker.
If you don't blink, spend 5 days in that or whatever with, maybe it was 3 days, I don't know, with what's his name? Keanu Reeves. I knew he was going to, not Keanu Reeves.
Joaquin Phoenix.
But Keanu Reeves.
That'd be a crazy different
Joaquin
Joker.
Phoenix playing Keanu Reeves playing the Joker. And I knew he was going to win an Oscar. But I knew. I saw him shooting that scene in the bus when I got there. I was like, oh, he's going to win an Oscar. I could see it. It's like The Fighter. The first time I saw The Fighter in that opening frame when I saw what Christian Bale was doing, I was like, oh my God. I knew immediately. Yeah. That fast. The same thing with the Joker. I was like, he got down to 126 pounds for this. He's eating an apple a day.
He was 126 pounds for that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or whatever he was. I mean, anybody's willing to put themselves through that. The people like that, Daniel Day-Lewis, Joaquin Phoenix, the people who are willing to do that to their body, Christian Bale, Meryl Streep, whatever. Those people, De Niro, like, I don't know what they're into. I don't know why they like that kind of masochistic process. I have no idea what they're getting out of that, but whatever they're getting, fine. I am not that guy. Yeah. That's never happening. I don't care enough.
But that's kind of goes back to that moment of clarity for you, right? It's like, well, I want to be that, but also when you strip it down and look at everything that goes into that, it's like, actually, I don't want to do that at all. I'd rather be this guy,
I know. It's like, I like skiing. I just hate the equipment and the fucking cold. Yeah. All that.
What is your best advice to, I'll be selfish here, a 30-year-old, ambitious young man?
I mean, it depends on what you want. I think the first thing is to come to terms with what you want. And I mean, honestly want. What do you honestly revere? And part of the problem is that you have children and, and you have people to provide for. But I would say, if you want to really get to know who you are, you get very good at one thing. Get very good at something. That's the value of jiu-jitsu or whatever it might be. Playing the guitar. Get really good. Because you'll have to face up to lots of your shortcomings. You'll have to overcome your shortcomings. You'll have to learn how to speak to yourself in the right way. And then you can apply those lessons to anything. But I would also ask yourself, what are you truly motivated by? Being original? Money? What is it? And it's fine. It doesn't, be honest. There's nothing wrong with being motivated by the things you can't really admit to, which is some people just want to be famous. Some people want to be rich because they grew up poor, and that was humiliating. It was humiliating to be treated like a second-class citizen. So when they wear a beautiful watch and they drive a beautiful car, the valet and everybody else treats them with respect. And if you don't understand that, you grew up with money. If you don't have a compassion for... See, there are a lot of people, like a lot of women are very materialistic. My friends, I know somebody who's very material. This woman is very materialistic. But she grew up poor, man.
Yeah.
She grew up poor. So she's not materialistic. She hated that feeling. And all this nice stuff makes her feel safe. It makes her feel like she never has to eat shit again. So, it depends on what you're motivated by. But you have hustle, man. I'm not worried about you. You have hustle. You got here. And if you like talking to people, which you obviously do, and you learn, I think you're doing the right thing. Be patient, though. Consistency is more important than hard work. Consistency is showing up every day is really the secret. Not just daily attendance or regular attendance. Consistent attendance is way more important than hard work, than grinding those 8 hours a day, which I don't believe in. I don't believe in discipline.
Yeah.
I don't believe in discipline. I don't believe in, I got to fucking lose weight. Okay, good luck. You keep that. I believe in inspiration. I believe in associating pleasure with whatever you're trying to do,
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got some stuff to do. Last thing before we go. So the show's called Travis Makes Friends, and we kind of switched the whole message because I found that the more connected we get as society as a whole, I feel like the more disconnected we are because people are working virtually. It's harder to go deep on relationships, I feel like, anymore. And it's harder to find friendships as an adult when you have a bunch of stuff going on. You got kids, you got, ambition, you got this thing, this project. And then if you're not careful, you can go your whole life and then wake up when you're 60 and go like, man, I don't really have any like real friends.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think that would be a failure on my part. And I think that a lot of people my age are probably going to be going through that without really realizing it.
You get it more when you're my age. Men lose their connection to other men and they get lonely. And I think after this 1 hour, I consider you my best friend and I love you more than my children. And I said it out loud and I don't give a shit who knows it or who hears it. Okay. Your producer, I don't trust. Okay.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
that's
not even a real camera he's holding.
Yeah, that one's a good call. Yeah.
I know. And I think there are things that live in his beard, like small sparrows and maybe even hornets. I don't know. He looks like the devil. I said it. I don't give a fuck. But I'll be friends with him too. And what was your question?
The question is, how do you actually go make friends? How do you recommend to other people go find some friends, fill your life with relationships and, like we were talking about earlier, connection, laughter, experiences?
Yeah, find interesting people, find colorful people, and know how to look for it, and create experiences that they can share in. It's not just about, you can go watch a game and drink a beer. That's great. And people need connection, but I also think there's a spirited relationship to be had between people you disagree with, and engaging in that. And also just having, I think we mark our life with the number of times we laugh and the times that, the experiences that, so the two things that are the rarest commodities are adventure and intimacy. And a lot of times adventure builds intimacy. So, you know, if you have to die young but leave a good-looking corpse, you know, Nietzsche said basically turn your life into a circus. And that's probably the best way to foster real relationships.
And a really good way to wrap up this episode, dude. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks,
before we take off, where do you want people to go to find it?
My special Man Tears just dropped on YouTube, Man Tears. I'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana at the Summit Comedy Club in January.
Perfect.
I don't know where else I'm going to be. Oh, in March, I'll be in New York at the Sony Theater. Yeah. But that's where I'm going to be, man. Best of my TV show on YouTube just dropped, my last episode. So tune in.
Man Tears on YouTube. Go check out Bryan's new special. I always love giving it a look whenever you come up with new stuff. I'm always looking for new stuff from you.
Good, brother.
So I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for taking the time. Thanks for inviting us in your home and allowing us to invade for a second. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good shit.
All right.
Good shit.
Wrap.